new developments out of Mar-a-Lago. President-elect Donald Trump reportedly weighing a possible replacement for his defense secretary pick, Pete Hegseth. That news comes after the embattled Fox News host has spent the entire week on Capitol Hill trying to shore up support from Senate Republicans ahead of his confirmation hearing. He'll even be there today meeting with a House Republican study group. Now, all of this coming after Hegseth faces mounting scrutiny for new allegations of financial mismanagement, sexual misconduct, and repeated intoxication. Again, these are allegations, and his lawyer denies those allegations. Our own CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian caught up with Hegseth to ask him about all of this, and here's what he had to say.
Have you had any conversations with the president-elect about replacing you with Governor DeSantis?
I spoke to the president-elect this morning. He said, keep going, keep fighting. Behind you all the way.
So you're in this all the way?
Why would I back down? I've always been a fighter. I'm here for the more fighters. This is personal passion for me.
So you're not withdrawing your name from consideration, just to be clear.
I'm meeting all day with senators.
Now, also this week, the New York Times publishing a scathing email from Hegseth's mother, Penelope Hegseth. It dates back to 2018, and in it, she accused the former TV host of being an abuser of women and using women for his own power and ego. She was asked about this on Fox News this morning and said this.
Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions. We say things, and I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent, and about 2 hours later, my husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more, but Pete and I are both very passionate people. I wrote that out of love. And about 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology email, but nobody's seen that. So it was a difficult time.
Now, CBS News is reporting that Trump is considering replacing Hegseth with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as the nominee for defense secretary instead. Now, if you remember, Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump ran very hostile campaigns against one another for the Republican presidential nomination. Now, DeSantis dropped his bid for that back in January, later endorsing Donald Trump. And the two were, in fact, seen sitting side by side at a memorial for fallen law enforcement officers yesterday in Florida. So let's bring in CBS News political reporter Olivia Rinaldi from West Palm Beach for us, right outside Mar-a-Lago. Olivia, Pete Hegseth says he's all in and that he spoke to the president-elect this morning. Are we hearing anything from the Trump team on this possible replacement for DeSantis?
Yeah, that's right. Even though we are hearing from Hegseth that he spoke with the president-elect this morning and allegedly had the full confidence of Trump, and Hegseth on Capitol Hill today really rallying support among senators, we are hearing that there are other names and other people that the Trump team and Trump himself are looking at to fill the role of Secretary of Defense. Obviously, a lot of jockeying going on behind the scenes. We heard yesterday Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, that was surprising given the history between the two men. A lot of bad blood between them during the Republican primary, where Donald Trump really felt that Ron DeSantis, it wasn't his time and that he's showing disloyalty. That's why he called him, quote, "sanctimonious" throughout the primary, that because of that, it wasn't his time and therefore it really soured their relationship, and also soured the relationship between several advisors within their own camps. Ron DeSantis is someone well known, obviously, within Florida politics, as is Donald Trump, and they have shared a lot of allies and advisors. So an interesting pick there. We did hear a lot of pushback from within the Trump camp of people close to Vance, close to Trump and allies himself, that they were a little bit against this pick. So this is a developing situation that we are hearing about. And a lot of fluidness that could happen, as we're starting to learn that our Ed O'Keefe reported the dwindling prospects of Pete Hegseth on Capitol Hill, that there are a few Republican senators who are saying they would not back him, sort of looking for a little bit of an out there with perhaps a different pick from the president-elect.
All right, speaking of fluidity, Olivia, getting to the other news on Trump picks, Kash Patel, the nominee to lead the FBI, was recently notified that he was the target of a potential Iran-backed cyber attack. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we learned about this last night, that Kash Patel was the target of an Iranian-backed cyber attack. It's unclear how far they were able to infiltrate some of his communication. So interesting there. But this also comes after we've seen a series of attacks from Iran towards Trump campaign officials throughout the entire 2024 cycle, and now continuing throughout the transition. Also, over the summer, I do want to note that the Justice Department had charged 3 people of Iran's Revolutionary Guard with some of this hacking. So interesting to note there. And the Trump campaign, or transition rather, this morning putting out a statement saying that Kash Patel was a key part of the first Trump administration's efforts against terrorist Iranian regime and will implement Trump's policies to protect American adversaries as FBI director. You see the statement there on screen. So them standing behind him fully throughout all of these attacks that he is facing.
And Olivia, I want to talk about Chad Chronister for a second. President-elect Trump's pick to lead the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA. He withdrew his name from consideration yesterday, just a few days after he was named as a pick. Why did he do that?
Yeah, well, talking about a fluid situation, we're starting to hear some updates on this right before I spoke to you. So we heard from Chronister yesterday that he's withdrawing his name as leader of the department, or the DEA rather. But Trump on Truth Social just a few minutes ago was talking about the Wall Street Journal piece, really criticizing it. And on Truth Social, Trump said that he actually was the one who pulled Chronister out of consideration, not himself, citing the fact that he pulled him out, quote, because he did not like what he said to my pastors and other supporters. The interesting thing to note there is that back in 2020, Chronister was the Hillsborough County Sheriff during COVID, and he had pursued arresting a pastor who was continuing to hold services despite COVID lockdowns. That prompted some conservative backlash, and it appears Trump was aware of that backlash and now saying that he actually was the one who pulled Chronister out, not the other way around. So developing situation we're learning about right now.
All right, CBS News political reporter Olivia Rinaldi in West Palm Beach, Florida for us. Thanks so much, Olivia. All right, turning now to how all of this is playing out on Capitol Hill. Pete Hegseth has been meeting with lawmakers trying to gain support ahead of a confirmation hearing. But his effort to get the okay from those on the Hill is crumbling at the moment after at least 4 Republican senators say they would likely withhold their support if a vote happened today. So CBS News campaign reporter Taurean is here to walk us through if he has the votes. Taurean, it seems like he is just hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, it's unclear if he has the votes. Liz, if his expectations coming into this was to get a resounding endorsement from the Republican conference, it appears that he's a bit further away from that goal. I think what's instructive, though, is despite the fact that we're not in the rooms with him as he's having these conversations with Republican senators, what they're choosing to say in public could be instructive. Trump loyalist Lindsey Graham from South Carolina has called the newly revealed allegations against Hegseth disturbing and possibly one of the best examples for a real-time reversal. Cynthia Loomis, the senator from Wyoming, just 2 days ago on Monday told CBS News that she thought that Hegseth was a credible pick. She brushed off his previous controversies, including the allegation of sexual assault in 2017, as side issues. Just yesterday, she said that these newly revealed controversies, or allegations rather, are concerning. She was unaware of that, and she's unsure if the former president, the soon-to-be incoming president, was aware of that, and he will have to explain himself as well.
And Taurean, are we getting any kind of reaction from lawmakers on a possible Ron DeSantis replacement for Hegseth?
Yeah, no Republican lawmakers have outright supported the swap just yet. In fact, Senator Rick Scott of Florida said that he still is supporting Hegseth. He actually contrasted the military experience of Hegseth to that of his current governor, Ron DeSantis there. But I think also what's pretty illuminating is what Senator John Thune said on Fox and Friends this morning. He said that while these conversations are happening about whether or not the president is considering a replacement, he still wants to, and he believes his conference wants to give Hegseth the chance to defend himself. That's why these conversations are happening. He says a part of this process is pressing him on these on these allegations, and he wants to give him space to defend himself ultimately, and then he'll decide whether or not he wants to move forward.
And Taurean, we also just got the final House results. Republicans win 220 seats. Democrats win 215. Very slim majority there. What does this mean for a Trump White House?
It means that Trump's legislative agenda could face, some potential battles reminiscent to his first term after the midterms, where he saw a really staunch opposition from Democrats. This is now a party firmly in his image, though, so that slim majority could be less of a challenge as it was for, let's say, President Biden as he faced the pushback from Republicans. But still, the agenda that Trump was pushing forward and now is tasking Speaker Mike Johnson with could face some trouble from the far-right members of the conference who have previously had some issues with how that agenda should be moving forward.
CBS News campaign reporter Taurean Small. Thanks so much, Taurean.